Well, I would say that Roslyn Franken is a survivor, and she is an achiever. She's going to speak at a healthcare conference in Toronto on March 17th. She is a cancer survivor whose own battle with cancer and excess weight have spawned a new book called The A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. And I can tell just from talking to her over the last couple of minutes, she's a very positive person. Roslyn, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's not do the whole book because, well, we'd like people to go out and buy it, right?
That's right.
But let's talk about some of the principles involved here. First of all, tell us the story. I kind of skimmed through it. You did have cancer and you did survive, right?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay, what kind of cancer? When did this happen to you?
Well, it was 1994. I had Hodgkin's disease.
Ooh.
Had no symptoms whatsoever till I woke up one morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and could not lift my head up off the pillow.
Oh, my
Found
goodness.
out that I had a tumor in my neck.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 29 years
That's
old.
way too young. I mean, we're always too young for cancer, but that's ridiculous.
I agree.
Yeah, so then what happened?
Well, they thought that it was either a virus or perhaps mono or something like that, which would have been much nicer, but it turned out that I had the tumor and that it was Hodgkin's, and after a biopsy, they knew for sure, and followed that with 9 months of chemotherapy.
Terrific. And then, my goodness, you went through a weight problem as well, right?
Yeah. I was somewhat overweight then, but believe it or not, by the time I was close to 40, I was even heavier. You would think that the cancer would be enough of a wake-up call to kick me into gear, but it was really by the time I was close to 40 that I realized I was at the heaviest weight I had ever been before and was just not comfortable in my own skin. I did not feel good about myself and thought, I've already had cancer. My mom passed away from cancer. My dad had quintuple bypass surgery. Like, what else needs to happen for me to really seriously do something about this long term, not just go on and off another diet? I had tried that many times in the past, and it never stuck. I couldn't find a system that would stick because I just was so desperate to lose the weight fast and do it in every traditional way possible.
Right, so what happened? All of a sudden, did a light just come on? You just woke up one day, looked in the mirror and said, that's enough of that. I'm going to change my life, or was this gradual?
No, it was just like what you just said. It was enough is enough. What am I doing?
Okay.
And, I have to find a system that works.
And is this book about that system?
This book is about that system because this book is not
a diet book. It's not a diet book.
Exactly. It is not a diet book. It is not just about the food you put in your mouth. It's also what do you feed your mind and what do you feed your soul? Like what kind of thoughts and attitudes and beliefs and habits are you doing? What are the thoughts that you're thinking that are leading you to the relationship that you have with food that's not working for you?
What is it? Is it an anxiety? Is it a poor self-image? Is it what causes us to eat? It's not we're hungry. Something is triggering that hunger, and it's not always the fact that you're hungry. Something else inside of you is doing that, right?
Well, often food is comfort.
Yes.
Right? Food is so much more. Food is so central to our lives. We bond over food. We nurture with food. We celebrate with food. We reward ourselves with food. Like, how many times after a hard day at work or whatever, you come home and you think like, oh, I'm just going to have that nice, let's say, piece of chocolate cake. I deserve it because I had a hard day. Right? There's a belief right there. Or just if you actually pay attention to the habits that you have and the thinking that creates those habits, then you start to realize, like, wow, this is not working.
Yeah. It starts right at childhood. Your parents will say to you, if you don't finish your meal, you're not going to get dessert, because dessert is the reward. And I think that's terribly wrong to do something like that.
But that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the principles. You got the ambition principle, you got the attitudes principle, you got the attainability principle. So this is just, for example, let's talk about the ambition principle.
Yep, the ambition one, that's really a foundation for all the rest, because each of the principles builds on the one before it. And when I'm dealing with a client, like I do one-on-one counseling as well, which is how a lot of these principles came to light, is seeing all the patterns, not just in my own experience, but of so many other people. And ambition, this has to do with what is your level of desire? How badly do you want to change your life? What is your level of hope? What is your level of motivation and commitment? These are things you need to look at, because for somebody who has tried so many different ways and feel as if they failed because they weren't able to keep it off, there's a certain level of hope that you have to look at. How hopeful are you? If underneath it all you're saying, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this, but you're kind of going through the motions, there's always some self-sabotage that comes into play that makes you put the weight back on because you don't truly believe that you're really going to be able to do it.
You know, before people buy any kind of a diet book, I think this is the kind of book they should buy. Before, if people are saying right now, listening to the radio, saying, I am going to take off weight and I'm going to keep the weight off, before they go to the diet book, before they go to educate themselves about food, and I really believe you should do that as well, is educate yourself about food, what puts weight on, and what kinds of food are best for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But before they do that, I think they should read a book like this, because you've got to get to the reason you were overeating. And obesity, by the way, is becoming a major problem in our country, as you very well know. We're getting all kinds of cancers and heart disease, and, of course, diabetes is raising a very ugly head. So if people want to do something about it, I think they've got to start somewhere, and probably your book is where they should start, Roslyn. What do you think?
I definitely believe that, and you mentioned about being aware of food, and one of the A principles is awareness. So definitely you need to have an awareness of food and what does healthy, balanced eating actually look like. Because
yes.
we've gotten so off track with that in our fast-paced society that we've forgotten what healthy portions look like.
Yes.
How to balance your food in a day.
Yes. I mean, go to a restaurant and see what the portions are like, and restaurants compete with one another for large portions. They feel if we don't fill the plate to the point where it's falling off the plate, then people won't come in. And people won't come in unless we got it all backwards. We got it terribly wrong. Exactly.
And also in the A-List book, I include a lot of workbook-style questions where I ask questions to people to really get them to think and self-reflect. And just as an example, how the underlying issues need to be looked at. I ask a question often, what reason can you think of that you might have to hold on to the weight? And people look at me kind of funny, like, well, obviously I'm here because I want to lose the weight, so why would I think of that? But I asked, for example, one lady, I asked that question, and she sat there for a few minutes, and there's absolute silence, and she didn't say anything. And I could see she was thinking about it. And her answer was, she said, I'm not really happy, and I use my weight as an excuse. She said, what happens if I lose the weight and I'm still not happy? She said, because I'm not willing to go there. And I said, you see how deep that is, because if she's not willing to go there, she will self-sabotage herself no matter what, because she's almost afraid of losing the weight, because if that's not the only reason for her unhappiness, it would require her to explore other areas. Wow. And there has to be a willingness. If you want to change your life, you have to identify these underlying issues and conquer them.
The A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living, Roslyn Franken. We get the book, I guess, where all good books are sold, right?
You can get it Chapters Indigo. You can have it ordered through there. You can go to my website at www.thealistbook.com. And you can also phone at 877-852-5852.
Roslyn, thank you very much for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.